Eubank Benn fight is now back on the table for September. We're hearing the date of September 23rd, Abu Dhabi. Look, I put a video out on my YouTube channel actually talking about this, and I got absolutely destroyed. I said, look, I'm just telling you the news. They're discussing a fight, and people are not happy because they see, and rightly so, that Conor Benn still has to sort out the situation with the British Boxing Board of Control and UKAD for our own sanity before he's allowed to fight. Look, he can go over there and fight. It's not the British Boxing Board of Control. It's not their territory, in the Middle East. But they think it's only right that he goes and sorts the situation out with the British Boxing Board of Control before he agrees to fighting anyone. True or false?
Oh, come on. Ethically, it's wrong to go ahead with the fight. You're throwing the whole testing system under the bus. You're saying, I'm innocent. I don't have to prove it. And I'm just going to carry on no matter what. Clomiphene, under the testing system in place, was found in his body. So you have to prove that it got there inadvertently, and that's what needs to go on in this case if he wants to get away to fight in either Abu Dhabi on September the 23rd or come here to the UK. Now, do they know something we don't know about the resolution with UKAD and the tribunal with Boxing Board of Control coming to a head? Maybe they do. That's what Charlie Sims told Boxing Social a couple of days ago.
Interesting.
If it is coming to a head and they are looking favourably upon his case, then great. They'll be backdated to mid-March. So that fits to that September date. That's 6 months. But, he's got to have his hearing. They're pressing ahead with this event in Abu Dhabi, if it does go ahead on September the 23rd, against the veracity of a testing system inside a sport that's inherently dangerous. Is Eddie Hearn just licking his finger and putting it up to the wind to see what reaction's like? Maybe. That could be going on as well. What happens if the UKAD tribunal, the UKAD board, say, no, it's a 2-year ban or it's a year ban? I know it's 2 or 4 years with strict liability. If they say it's a 2-year ban, that means he's got 18 months left to serve, going back to March. So they go ahead regardless, and they say, well, fingers up to you guys. I am innocent anyway, even though it's not proven so. That can't be right for the sport, can't be right for the system. He won't get a license again with the Boxing Board of Control. Chris Eubank won't. Where does that leave Eddie Hearn, who's licensed with the British Boxing Board of Control? One of the problems in boxing, and this is the loophole to do with it, innocent or not, that there's no unilateral agreement with commissions around the world, in other words, which there needs to be in the sport. You can't just have a set testing system, and if someone feels hard done by, they just ride roughshod over it. It doesn't make sense. And it's a very uncomfortable position. I'm not saying I'm not going to go and cover the fight, because I am, because it's bigger, more controversial than it would ever have been. And if it's on DAZN, I assume you'll be there as well.
100%. And I probably will be there. And 9 times out of 10, it will be on DAZN. So I just find it all a bit messy.
It's very messy.
Yeah, I find it all a bit messy. And as much as you say, it's bigger because of what's happened, I don't know. I think they've got a bit of a sell on their hands here. I think going into the first fight back in October of last year, it had everything. It honestly, everyone was talking about it. There was a push behind it, and even about the weight cut with Chris Eubank Jr. It's almost like people just accepted it, and we were really behind the fight. This time round, Chris coming off a loss, a bad one to Liam Smith, all the issues with Conor Benn, who's clearly not handled the situation properly. I don't know if the interest is as much as we think it is. I don't know. Remember, the last one was going to be on DAZN pay-per-view, and I think it would have done really good numbers, maybe 500,000 buys. I don't know if this one does it. I don't know what the interest is.
Oh no, it's a bigger fight now.
Is it a bigger fight? You think it does?
It's a much bigger fight. And it's a bigger fight because it's controversial as well. It would just be bigger and bigger, and the controversy that spills out over it, the column inches that it'll get in the newspapers, the news reports that it'll generate, the intrigue that boxing is giving itself a black eye, or it's taking another body blow will make it even bigger. The news channels will be there as well. It's just bigger and bigger, and that's why they should try and clear his name, because boxing isn't going to come out of this looking great. And I think maybe that's partly what Chris Eubank Sr. was hinting at on talkSPORT last week. Behind the scenes, he knew this was coming as well, that the fight was going to be announced again, and wasn't happy that his son was getting involved in this.
Do you think the British Boxing Board of Control and UKAD maybe collectively can try and put a block on two of former licensee holders, but Chris still very much a licensee holder? Can they put a block on what he does abroad? Like, can they have any power at all to say to Chris, you can't fight in Abu Dhabi?
What, to Chris Eubank? They can,
Yes.
but they can remove his license. But he can get licensed out there.
Mm.
It's as simple as that. Or get licensed in Finland or wherever it is, wherever there isn't agreement with the Boxing Board of Control. That's the problem for them with this. That is the big problem.
Behind the scenes as well, there's one person, I guess, that loses out on this big time, and that's Liam Smith. There's been lots of talk about Liam Smith. Ben Shalom actually said in an interview, I think the other day, that he still expects, which is very strange, expects Liam Smith versus Eubank to still happen next. I'm like, how do you expect this? Like, what's going on?
Well, it might, because, as I said, this might be let's put a flag up in the wind moment from Eddie Hearn to see where it can actually get to, how far they can get to it. Remember, without digging all the bones of a skeleton up from the ground from last October, although we are going to do that and everyone's going to do it, this was a this was a promotion which was prepared to push on even after a positive test had come out, push on after the Boxing Board of Control said it was being cancelled for now. So, they'll push on as far as they can take it. And if they can, I don't say get away with it, and almost it is getting away with it, I suppose. If they can get away with it and put the event on, I think they will, because there's money to be made. But it's not for the good of the sport. It's to the detriment of the sport. I can't ever remember a situation like this in my time. It's very, very unusual. It still remains a dark cloud over the sport going back to last October.
Final one on this. If both do go and fight in Abu Dhabi against the wishes, and obviously of not just everyone, but of the British Boxing Board of Control, more importantly, do you think they'll be ever licensed over here again? Or
No.
be able to be licensed here
I
again?
can't see it. I can't see it, because they've deliberately gone against the fundamental system that's in place to check that if I'm fighting you, you are not taking something that you shouldn't be taking, or if you're fighting me, I'm not taking something that I shouldn't be taking. It's for your safety as much as mine. And it's one guy who has, Conor's come out quite blatantly and said they had it in for him. I don't think they had it in for him. I don't think they did have it in for him. And says that he thinks they were trying to punish him. I don't think they were. It's a simple case of, it's not them attacking an individual over this. It's just a system that's in place. If you ride a red light and it's because you were approaching that too quickly or just inside the speed, and you had to dodge a child or dodge a family or dodge a deer, and you had to go through the red light, you explain why you did it. You don't just say, oh, you've given me that and it's wrong. You explain the reasons why something's happened. And you can't just say, I carry on driving anyway. I'm going to carry on driving. I'm going to have a license anyway. You can't do that. You've got to, as much as I want him to.
You might be innocent. You've got.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. As much as he may know he's innocent, he's got to go through the procedure. It's a difficult situation for him as well. It's a difficult situation for everyone, but the problem is it expands a whole look at boxing, because loopholes are being exposed here in the system, where if you're banned in one place, you're not necessarily banned or suspended in another.